term referendum earlier. But, even though that's a good-sounding word and people like what it stands for, how do you get that onto a ballot if the government doesn't agree?
That is a very good question, being that you're under the British law. But if you happen to have enough signatures, let's put it this way. Let's do that referendum this way.
Those fellas ain't studying no signatures, right?
No, hold on. Let me explain you. Let's say you have signatures, and you have the petition draft in a way to say to the governor who you send it to, if this petition should fail, we would like this to be a referendum for the next election, so the people would vote as to what these people should be paid. And the governor would give that to the Attorney General to carry to the House. And that can become law.
Well, carrying it to the House where the majority doesn't go for it still is a waste of time. This is my suggestion. Very often we're told that it's only the few who make noise, right? And if the majority was making a noise, those that are in power would be hearing it because they have their fingers on the pulse.
That's true.
I would like to suggest that perhaps we get radio stations and newspapers involved, a little bit more than they're already involved, to the point where they can print ballots in the papers on particular issues when such an issue arises. Have people fill out these ballots and mail them in. Or better still, at the radio stations like they do in the States, you call this number if you vote for this issue, or you call that number if you vote against the issue. Tally the information and publish it. Once the public begins to understand that the majority is clearly for this, those that are elected have no excuse as to it's only a few saying they want this and they want that.
Yeah.
And I believe our newspapers and radio stations can do a little bit more, even if they go out and get people to sponsor the space where these ballots are going to be printed. People would willingly pay for that like they pay for an ad on the radio. But we need to make sure that it is clearly understood that it is not one person speaking. This is the concern of the entire country. And only when we get that message through will these people begin to listen to us.
Yeah. What do you think about a petition right now against the increase in salary?
Well, it's the same thing. Who's going to listen to the petition?
People
you
sign it.
carry the petition to the House,
No,
right?
I mean, they can't
you
go to the
cannot
governor.
compel people to vote a certain way.
No, what I'm saying with the petition, they carry it to the governor, ask them to take action. Because the governor can do a lot if they want to do it,
What can he do?
They can suspend the Constitution and do what they want on the country.
They're not going to do it over the Constitution. I mean, we waste a lot of money in other ways, right? And the Constitution hasn't been suspended.
They can be high-handed and just make it like they want. They can do that.
I don't think that's going to happen over an incident like this because, after all, right, the way these fellows look at it is only money. That's the way they look at it,
Yeah.
right? We need to make sure that the politicians are now going to understand that, hey, when there's an issue, you see people demonstrating and going downtown for certain issues. And we say we got 18,000 people in this country, but you see a handful out in front of the administration building, and they're demonstrating about a particular issue, and they're supposed to represent the rest of us. But government will clearly tell you that, hey, you're only a handful. I have more people telling me that you people are not even together. I've seen that happen before.
Let me ask you another pertinent question. You think the governor going to respond to a letter that was sent to him concerning the illegal sitting of 5 of the members of the legislature?
I am not aware of the incident, but if something is written to him, he has to respond to it. Whether it be positive or negative, a response must be forthcoming.
Yeah, he been asked to give a public response. I want to see what's going to happen out of this. The information I got, it was sent to me too, and it was sent to him, and he's supposed to respond.
Well, I have read the papers, the Beacon in particular, and if you look at what is happening there, with all the references that have been made, it seems quite clear that the salaries of elected officials are definitely tied to the size of the population, right? And if that is the case, we're completely out of line. We're out of line where, if we respect the civil service and the civil service operates the way it's supposed to operate, right? Once decisions are made and instructions are handed to the permanent secretaries, those junior ministers basically have nothing else to do. They only continue to get in trouble because they try to find something to do, right? I see no reason why a minister should be issuing a work permit. You tell the people in charge of work permits, these are the conditions we're looking for. If these conditions are met, the work permit is issued. If they're not, then that person may appeal to me, but until then I don't want to see the person. Why should you want to see every person and discuss everyone?
Let me ask you another question while you're there. I note that in the Darrell report, the commissioners say they don't believe that no one different to the chief minister should be working on a full-time basis or should be paid on a full-time basis. It should be part-time. What's your view on that?
Well, basically the salary doesn't mention whether it's full-time or part-time. As far as I'm concerned, the salary is for part-time work. These fellows have nothing else to do, so very often they stay there full-time. But the salary, based on what their responsibilities are, is a very high salary for part-time work.
Yeah, but he has suggested that the other members different to the chief minister shouldn't be paid.
No, I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
No.
Oh, I see.
We're not living in the 70s. We're living in the 90s. Conditions have changed, and I understand that might have been irrelevant at the time. However, I'm not objecting to guys getting paid. I'm simply saying we need to look at it realistically.
Another question I have for you. There's a petition circulating in St. Croix right now. It was in the October 22nd, Daily News 1996. October 22nd, Tuesday 1996. About cutting the senators' pay from $65,000 to $25,000. You think that would happen in America?
I can't see it happening.
I believe it's going to happen in the Virgin Islands.
But you know, when you look at the report that was in the papers, right, where a governor, I think it's the state of Utah or something like that, where they have 880,000 people, he makes $51,000 a year. And if you look at all the governors of the United States, progressively as the population increases, the salaries increases. We get up to New York, where the population is 18 million, and we got a governor making $120,000, right? And I believe basically in this part of the world, the United States basically sets the standards and just about everything else. And, you know, we have superseded that. Those guys better come in and look for a job. Anyway, I think I've taken up enough time. People need to speak.
Nobody on the line, so I can conversate with you a little. I need to ask you one more question. Now, you know, you live here. You know that sometimes you have the chief minister away for 3 weeks. Sometimes you have other members away for 4 weeks. And the office continue to exist without them.
You have to admit that the chief minister and any responsible minister who's away for that length of time will be communicating with his office and making sure he still has his fingers on things.
Yeah, but let's put it this way. That proved to me that these guys don't need to be there all the time.
No, well, I don't know if that proves they don't need to be there all the time, because you don't have to be in your office to run it. You know. And the chief minister in particular, I think, has to make trips. Very often you have to make personal appearances here and there. So I don't know if I'd go along with that one.
Okay.
But I certainly don't believe that a lot of the things we have them do to make sure that they're full-time operators, those things are not necessary.
If you have criteria for all the different elements and functions of government, those things can be done by the workers because the criteria are there. All I have to do is follow them.
Well, you see, the thing is, I suppose, to make sure you're very powerful and important, civil servants have been really reduced to messengers. Civil servants who do administration and have master's degree in business administration and all the rest of that, in this particular business, has been reduced to messengers. And that's shameful.
Okay, thanks, boss.
Okay.
Because the lines are still open for those who've been heckling me for quite some time, wanting to know if I was paid by the government not to discuss this salary increase. Good evening. Good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir.
Yeah, talk to me.
Yes, I got 2 or 3 little statements to make. The first one is about some guys that goes about stealing people goats. And they didn't seem like a one goat, they stealing 3 and 4 goats. And no one person going to steal 3 and 4 goats. I mean, they're taking these goats and having them selling. You know, and giving them a warning because about a month ago they got me about 4 mines. All I'm in the reader. So, just warning them to just quit this thing out because somebody can get hurt.
But what you did when you find out this code was missing?
Man, I call a police.